Hi, keeping it real here. Just a video on my last 13 days of using Octopus Export with the Agile tariff. Um, so here it goes. My first day was the 2nd of Feb, which is when I was told that I'd moved across, even though I'd moved across 2 days before, which I'd known. And this was my first ever test at how I was going to export. And on that day, basically what I did was um, I charged up overnight like I normally do in the winter, and then basically um, waited till the expensive periods from 9:30 a.m. to start using the battery. So I used the battery, charged up wherever I thought it was cheaper. So at 11 o'clock, for instance, it was cheaper. So I just charged up, just kept it topped up during the day, just so that when I got to peak, um, I had a full battery. So there, you can see there, I've charged up at 1:30 as well. I've charged up at 2. Just make sure that I've used the battery, but I've also made sure that I've got enough to export. So when it came down to export, the rates were 15.75p, which was more than, it was only 3 or 4 pence more, but it was still more. So I exported 1.5 hours worth, just to make sure uh, um, that it gave a good return. 1.5 hours of export of a Powervault battery gives you about 4 kilowatts, um, roughly 4 kilowatts, give or take. So that's what I've done. And then it also made sure that I had enough battery left till about 7:30 when the 11p rates came back. So all I wanted was the battery till 7:30 because 13.67 was the highest number. After that, it went down. So this was one of the days um, where it was primarily just grid use. Mostly it was grid use, but it's to try to sort of still make money when there is grid use. So let's go back and have a look at another day. I'll take you through all 13 days so you can see the variances. This is another day which is, it's got a bit of solar, you can see in the middle there. Solar wasn't great. Um, and here again, solar's great, you can tell. But the um, main thing here is that the Powervault is being used in this case here during the day. And then I've just topped it up sort of pre-peak at about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I've just topped it up, and that kind of makes sure that every time I just go into the, whatever happens, whatever the scenario, this is a bad scenario where I've been using grid all day, the battery's not used, but then I've gone into the peak period with a full battery, and again I've done my 1.5 hours of export, and as you can see, it's about 3.5 kilowatts on that day that I've got back, uh, which is about right. It is about right, um, because I normally do get a bit of export through solar and whatever. And the Powervault bleeds charge out as well at like 1 or 2 kilowatts, so that all kind of adds up. Previously, I used to lose it all. Now I get paid for it. I don't know, it's a percentage of a penny, but I'll get a percentage, whatever happens. Um, so you keep moving on, and you find that you get better at it. Like in this case, with the export of solar and the battery, I've now started getting bigger numbers. This is the kind of numbers I expect to see in the summer. In fact, I will be seeing 15 kilowatt exports in the summer, because just off solar, not even off using the battery. So I will be paid right through the day now that we haven't got a car, so we're using even less electricity than we were last year till we get the new car. But that's by the by. And this is that day, Saturday the 6th, and you can see I've done exactly that. Um, very little um, grid being used during the day at all. Very little at all. It's and I haven't charged up or anything using grid in the daytime. I did charge up during the night. I always do in the winter because you never know what the next day is. Sometimes you get caught out with it where it's sunny the next day, but hey ho. But again, you can see that the first grid I started using was at 7:30, which is 11 pound. Proper grid was at sorry 7 o'clock at 13.85p. But you know, you've got to kind of guesstimate on how long your battery's going to last and all that kind of stuff. It always lasts up to 4 kilowatts on an hour and a half. But again, it's a gamble. This is a gamble. Whatever I'm doing, it's a gamble. Every day is a gamble. You just have to hedge your bets and hope it works out. And this is another one here. Again, I've got a lot of solar here. I've got hardly any solar, but I'm using the battery during the day, and just pre-peak, I've charged up so that I go into peak with a full battery. And again, up to 7 o'clock, I'm good. I'm good. So no grid being used till then, from 4 to 7. And it changes. That's the beauty of doing it manually, is it changes every day. I can on the fly with the Powervault just change what I want to do. So if I find that the battery is really bad and the prices are high, I can drop the export down. But I haven't had to do that. The most I've had to do is bite the bullet on spending a bit of grid at the other end. So I tend not to export 4 hours, sorry, the full battery, unless I've had a full day of solar and the rates are quite low post peak as well. Um, and then I think I've done it once, and this might be it. Yep, this wasn't it. This is where I've had good solar all day and I've used solar and battery going into peak. And again, you know, just export enough to give you a return. So uh, it kind of adds up. Even though we're looking at 40p's, 50p's, eventually it does add up. And this is that the Thursday the 11th, when we've had good solar, so hardly any grid being used in the day. The battery was used, the washing machine, the dryer, all of them were being used on that day. And I've ended up right up to 7 o'clock, having not used any grid, or 7:30 in this case, sorry, and which is exactly what I aim for, because I don't mind the 14.33 pence grid use on that day, because everything else was 17p's and all that. But I've exported at 17.49, 17.38, so my hour and a half. So you've got to kind of balance it out by not being super greedy and wanting to export the whole battery, which I prefer not to do on most days. I think I've done it once, as I've said, and the idea is to minimize your input costs and maximize your export costs. Uh, and here at 5:30, the export rate was 22.08 pence. Hence, I've exported during that time. But then I haven't exported at the lower rates of 15p. You know, it's just the way I do it. Um, but the beauty now is that with the excess solar that I'm generating, that I am getting that 6p or 5p during the day as well. So it all adds up. So this is a good example, and I think this will be kind of like the scenario I expect in the summer. Um, in fact, the only difference between summer and now will be that I won't be charging up overnight, which is what I've been doing, uh, as you can see there. So that's the 11th of Feb uh, there, and that's the 12th. Oh, has gone up. There you go. The average is meaningless because it's obviously taking the day export as well. And as you can see, I've got a fair bit there. So that was a good solar day for me. So from about 8:30 a.m., I haven't used any grid, right up to about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I'm quite happy with that. That's a good little graph on how makes me happy when I see something like that. And there you go. That's another battery solar day. You can always tell a solar day when it's got yellow bits in the daytime, um, and it's also using the battery as well. So um, and now I just want to show you um, the costs that I've got for those 13 days. I've got 2 days missing for some reason. I think it's the 10th and the 11th that's missing from Octopus. So let's just choose. I'll just show you that what I've got. So from the 2nd of February to the 13th, on the data that I've got, this isn't accurate. As I said, I haven't got 2 days of data for some reason, but this is just to give you an idea. For those 13 days, this is how much electricity I've used, this is how much it's cost me, and how much have I sold back. So let's have a wait on this. There you go. And that's basically the 13 days worth. Or in this case, it's actually the 11 days worth. Um, so my input cost was £23.21. I made back £6.94, which basically means that I'm well above my 46 pence a day export that I need to do. And as you can see, it's made a fair bit of difference. So my bill, instead of being £23, is £18. So that's I think, a worthwhile saving. Um, the import, sorry, the export unit rate is irrelevant because obviously I'm getting a lot of solar in a few of those days, so it kind of brings your export average down. Um, However, has it been worthwhile? Yes, it has, without a shadow of a doubt. Hope you like this video. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and please do ask me any questions if you think of any. And look forward to the next one. Thank you.